Hello and welcome to this Premier Skills English Facebook Live event to talk about our Activity Week Learning English Football and Films. My name's Jack and I'm here with Rich.
Hi everybody, my name's Rich, as Jack just said.
Yes, and we're it's actually halfway through the Activity Week, but we thought we'd come back to give you another overview of what happened, to try to encourage more of you to come to Premier Skills English and sign up for the lessons that are all about footballs and films as part of the Activity Week. So, Rich, can you tell us a bit more about the Activity Week?
Yeah, well, the Activity Week, as Jack was just saying, is a series of lessons that we've got online on the Premier Skills English website. In this Activity Week, we have 7 lessons, and then at the end of the week, there will be a big quiz for you to complete, so you can get a Premier Skills certificate at the end of the Activity Week. The Activity Week covers lots of different language skills, reading and listening skills, as well as writing skills this week. And there's an emphasis on grammar and also on vocabulary. Lots and lots of film vocabulary and football English this week.
And throughout this this Facebook Live, we're asking you, what's your favourite film? Can you tell us what your favourite film is in the comments on this Facebook Live? Okay, so throughout we're going to talk about the different lessons, but we'd love to hear any comments or questions you have about football, film or English or any combination, and we'll try to answer them as they come in or maybe at the end. So yes, please leave your comments and questions in the comments section. Okay, we've got 8 people watching at the moment, so hello. Shall we move on to an overview of the
lesson 1?
The lesson 1. Okay, hang on a minute.
Yeah.
So, lesson 1 is the film vocabulary page. So on this page, there are 2 different types of kind of vocabulary presentations. There are loads and loads of pictures that show different genres or different types of films, and then there's a short text that presents some more language. So there are three types of language on the page, aren't there, Rich?
Yeah, the idea behind the lesson is that there's something for everyone. If you're an elementary speaker of English, intermediate or an advanced user of English, the idea of the lesson is that it starts off relatively easy and gets progressively more difficult and more challenging. So yeah, we start off with vocabulary about types of films, about genres, then we move on to jobs in the film industry, and then finally we look at some more tricky phrasal verbs and other phrases connected to films.
So when we're talking about genres, Rich, what's your favourite genre of film?
Oh, it's a tricky one. I love a comedy, but is a gangster film, is that actually a genre? A gangster film, something like...
What, you mean like the Goodfellas and
yeah,
Godfather?
Goodfellas and the Godfather and stuff like that. Something, or Quentin Tarantino film. What was that one? Reservoir Dogs. A bit gruesome, though.
Yeah, I guess they're mostly action films, but no, I mean Goodfellas. The Godfather is some kind of drama, perhaps. But you like the intense, violent films. Is that the sort of thing you like?
Well, I think it might be the intensity more than the actual violence. Because I'm not a violent man, Jack. What about yourself?
I don't really know. I love some comedies, but I have a terrible sense of humour, and most of the time I find comedies infuriating, and I don't find them funny. I suppose the films I get most excited about are dramas, are really tense, probably the same sort of films you're talking about, really tense kind of spy dramas, things like that. Thrillers, a thriller or a drama, some that kind of film. I'm just going to have a look. In the comments, we've got Taufik has said his favourite film is Sherlock Holmes: The Games of Shadow. Have you seen it? Is that one of the ones with Robert Downey Jr.? Rich?
I'm not sure. I have, as you know, I'm an expert on all things connected to film, and I have actually heard of Sherlock Holmes. I believe he's a detective, but the Games of Shadow is lost on me. So I think your guess would be much better than mine in terms of it being whether it's UK based or US based, because I do know that there's Sherlock Holmes, the TV series that stars what's the name? I can never pronounce his surname. It's quite complicated.
Benedict Cumberbatch as Sherlock and Martin Freeman as Dr. Watson.
Dr. Watson, Martin Freeman. I can do that one. I know who he is as well.
Yes, there have been lots of Sherlock Holmes films over the years. So, Taufik, you'll have to tell us which actor plays Sherlock Holmes in your favourite film, and we'll see if we've watched it. I've seen lots of Sherlock Holmes films, but I can't remember all of them. Okay, so that's the film vocabulary section. Lots and lots of film vocabulary, lots of different genres, and some specialist language that you can use to talk about films, different jobs, and the kind of just the vocabulary you use. So that's lesson 1. Let's have a look now. Lesson 2
is the player interviews.
It is, yes.
Yeah.
Tell us more, Rich.
Well, this is where the connection comes in really much more strongly between football and films. The first lesson is heavily about football vocabulary, and the second lesson is for Premier League or ex-Premier League players talking about the films that they like and the types of film that they like, and when they go to the cinema and when they watch films and how films make them feel. And 2 of the Premier League players are probably very well known to you. The first one is Romelu Lukaku, the Manchester United striker, and another of the players in the interviews is called Mikel Arteta, who is currently a coach at Manchester City working under Pep Guardiola. So that's lesson 2.
Okay. And someone's just pointed out, thank you, Med Akram Chati, Robert Downey Jr. is so it's one of the new ones. And I read today that they are working on Sherlock Holmes 3 with Robert Downey Jr. So that's one to look forward to if you're a big fan of the Games of Shadow.
I prefer the BBC series, I have to say. So
I like a bit of Sherlock Holmes. I like some of the old ones as well. I like Jude Law in the new ones. I think he makes a good Dr. Watson. Okay, so that lesson 3. Lesson 3 is based around the Premier Skills English podcast. And you can listen to this on the lesson 3 page, or you can download the podcast. There's a link halfway down the page on the side where you can download the podcast and the transcript. And you can also subscribe to these podcasts, because these podcasts come out every week. We usually have 2 a week, depending on what's happening in the Premier League and how busy we are. But we generally have 2 a week, and if you subscribe, then you'll get notified when we have a new one, when a new one is published. So you can subscribe on Audio Boom or on iTunes or on Stitcher or Last FM or any other podcast platform. I think we're on most of them. Isn't that right, Rich?
We certainly are, yeah. And if there's somewhere that you would like to listen and you can't find us, drop us a line and we'll try to get on that platform as well.
And if you so you can listen to the podcast. How long is it? It's about 11 minutes, 12 minutes.
Yeah, I think this week it might be up to about 14, but it's generally every week it's between 10 and 15 minutes. Yeah, that's right.
And there are lots of different stages in the podcast. There's a language focus. In fact, there are 2 language focuses this week, one on the passive voice and one on film vocabulary. And then there is a task, and there is a kind of a secret phrase for you to guess, and some discussion questions. So there's a lot to do. And we get some really good discussions on the page, on the podcast page. So it's worth having a look. Rich, you have a question. Sorry, on my camera, Rich is over here. If you see me glancing, it's because I'm looking at Rich here. We have a question for you, Rich, from Min. I'm sorry, I'm not going to try and say the rest of your name. Min asks, do you watch many films from Spain, Rich?
Ooh, films from Spain. Well, as I was just saying to Jack, I don't watch many films, full stop. So I don't watch that many Spanish films either. But I know of like Javier Bardem, who's a very famous actor from Spain. And of course, there's a couple who have made it quite big in Hollywood, like Antonio Banderas and Penelope Cruz, who is originally from not that far from where I live in Madrid. So she's very, very famous in Spain. But films actually in Spanish, not so many. I should watch more. I do go to the cinema quite a lot, and the films are in Spanish, but they tend to be Hollywood films that I'm going to with my 2 young boys.
All right, let's move on to the next lesson. So the next lesson is lesson 4, and it's a grammar lesson all about the passive voice. So in this lesson, which is going to be live soon, isn't it, Rich?
I think that should be live in the next 2 hours. That will be live on the website if you're waiting for lesson 4.
So in a couple of hours, lesson 4 will be live, and it's a grammar presentation with some interactive activities, a quiz, and some questions for you to practice using the passive voice. Because when we talk about films, we often use the passive voice, so it made sense that the grammar focus for this activity week would be the passive voice. So there's a little 5-minute video presentation, and you can watch that, and you can do the activities, you can try and answer the questions in the quiz, and you can leave some comments and try and respond to one another's comments about the passive and using the passive. Is there anything else? Anything I've forgotten about the passive voice, about lesson 4, Rich?
Well, I think the only other thing is that again there's a discussion at the bottom, but this is focused more on grammar, and it's your chance to write some sentences yourself using the passive. And Jack and I will correct on this page as well, like your use of the passive if you're not sure. And we also encourage other learners to try to correct each other as well. And don't worry if you think you're wrong when you're correcting, just go for it. And if you're way out, one of us will step into the breach, so to speak.
So yeah, this is any questions you have about the grammar. This is a good place to put them. We've got a few questions that have come in. First, Atif saying sir, and Ahmed saying hello, and Atif wants to know how we can use correct words. Well, that's kind of what it's all about, isn't it? I would join the activity week, and then you've got lots of at least film vocabulary that you can learn how to use correctly. So you'll be in a better position if you want to have a conversation about films. But there are a lot of words out there to learn how to use correctly. And the next question is from Rushil, who's asking, what is the difference in the course or the activity week that we're providing and those by Neil and the other educators? Our Premier Skills English activity weeks are really like mini courses. They're not like the ones that are on Future Learn, which they're kind of big and they take a very long time to write, and there's a lot of work goes into them. What we do on Premier Skills English is much more lightweight, and it's more fun. Or I'm not saying that the other courses aren't fun. I'm saying it's a bit of fun compared to a more serious.
It's more light-hearted, maybe.
Yeah, light-hearted. Not yeah. So these are they're similar in that you sign up and you can work your way through the lessons, and at the end you can get a certificate. but they're not. But they're just the two of us working on these courses, and they're just not as big. They're just kind of little mini activity week courses. So that's the main difference. The ones that have been developed for the FutureLearn platform are written by lots of people, and a lot more work goes into them. They're a lot more serious, and there's a lot more attention by the educators. They're a much bigger deal. These are activity weeks, and they're, as I say, this is more like a series of activities compared to a full course. But you're still, you can still improve your English, and you can do similar things on the different on Premier Skills English as you can on the other courses, but they're just much smaller. There's probably more differences as well that I'm not aware of because I don't work on those courses. But that's kind of how I feel about them.
Another question's just popped up from Poktira, who wants to know why we've been creating this website for learning English through football.
That's a very good question.
Indeed, it is. Where the website is a collaboration between the British Council and the Premier League, and the idea of the website is that it uses a topic, football, to maybe attract English language learners who maybe are not really attracted by the traditional way of learning in the classroom. And I would say that's probably one of the main attractions of the website. Anything to add, Jack?
No, I think that's quite right. We've been working on Premier Skills English, part of the Premier Skills collaboration, for quite a long time now. I don't know when the English website started, but I've been working on it for I think 6 years now. And yes, we want to. People write so much about football online, and people are so excited about football and the drama from the Premier League and other leagues and the World Cup and things, that we want to try and take some of that enthusiasm for communicating online, often in English but in other languages as well, and we want to use that to kind of channel and to try and help people kind of engage with English language learning materials. So that's the idea behind it. So if you love football and you're learning English, then Premier Skills English is a good place to come and find football-themed language learning materials.
Okay, shall we move on to lesson 5?
That's a good idea.
Right. Okay, so lesson 5 is the football English blog. There's more of a focus again on football here, but again we're writing about the connection between football and footballers and film and the movie, and it's a reading text which will introduce lots of new words, new vocabulary for you to learn about the topic of films. And the topic is footballers, ex-Premier League footballers who have made it in Hollywood, made it in the movies, and also a focus on movies about the topic of football as well.
So, Rich, I'm going to ask you now, do you have a favourite film with a footballer in it?
A favourite film with a footballer in it? I'm saying this question really, really slowly to give myself a little bit of thinking time here. But as I said, I think in lesson 3 on the activity week, I actually loved Bend It Like Beckham. And I know that David Beckham's only got a bit part in the film, but I think that counts. Does that count?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
He was also in Guy Ritchie's film about King Arthur that I think is called King Arthur. It might be called Arthur.
David Beckham was?
Yeah, he was, yeah.
Was it?
He was all dressed up.
Was it a bit part or an extra?
He was. I think he was an executioner.
Oh, okay.
But he was all dressed up. He didn't have a football with him. Obviously, this is set in Camelot back in, I don't know what year, but a long time ago. So he was there all looking a bit rough and dirty, as you'd expect one to look in those days. No, it was funny seeing him there.
Okay, nice. All right, let's. So that's footballers in the movies is lesson 5, and what about lesson 6, Jack?
Lesson 6 is a web quest. So this is the web quest is like a treasure hunt, and there are a series of questions with links. So when you try to complete the treasure hunt, you have to click on a link and it will take you away to a website all about film or English and film, where you'll have to try to find a difficult to find piece of information, and then you can come back and you can move on to the next question. This is a bit of fun. It's a bit of a challenge. They're quite satisfying to complete. But it's also a way for you to find out some perhaps new film resources, websites that are good to talk about films, places where people are having discussions online about films, and some specific football films and English websites where you can go and there are some language learning materials connected to films. Okay. How many questions are there, Rich?
I think we're basing the web quest around 5 different websites, and I think there'll be like 10 little challenges, 10 little questions for learners to go and find the answers to. Okay.
So the final lesson of the activity week is lesson 7, and this is a task, and the task is write a film review. So in this lesson there are 2 examples of film reviews and a series of questions for you to answer and to think about when you write your own film review. And this is an opportunity for you to take all of the language that you've learnt or that you've practiced, if it's not new to you, throughout the activity week, and put it all together and write your own film review and share it on the Premier Skills English website. So we ask about where films were made, who the actors are, the director, where they're set, the location, and all of the kind of specialist language. And at the end of it, we want to know whether you would recommend the film or perhaps not. Maybe you would warn people not to watch the film because it wasn't so good. Rich, are you going to leave a film review?
I'm going to watch a film this week. Maybe I'll watch one tonight. Have you got one that you'd recommend, Jack? And I'll watch it, and then I'll put my review up in the comment section this evening. I'll write the review as I'm watching the film.
Well, I've just noticed that there's a new film called Annihilation has come out on Netflix that I haven't seen yet. That
sounds like it's got a lot of violence in it.
I think it's a kind of a fantasy sci-fi. It has Natalie Portman, who plays a scientist who gets... I don't know what happens, actually. It looks very mysterious.
Okay, right. Well, anyway, what we would like to do is we'd like to see your reviews of different films in the comment section on lesson 7. And what we'd really, really want to see here is like other people responding to other people's reviews, to asking them telling them if you had also seen the film and what did you think about the film. Do you agree with the person who's writing the review? Because that's what this is all about. This like putting everything together that you've learnt during the activity week for this lesson, to be able to write and speak about the movies.
Okay, so that's our overview of this activity week, learning English, football and films, that you can find on the Premier Skills English website. Thank you for joining us and watching our Facebook Live. I want to say thanks to Pock for a lovely comment. He says he's obtained a lot of knowledge about football from the website, and he's also very proud of the club which is called the Fox in Thailand. Do you know what club that is?
Connected to Leicester City there.
Yes. Yeah, well, no, it's great. It's great. I mean, this is one of the things that's really nice about the Premier League is it's the English league, but it's truly global in both fans and the club owners and where the players come from. We're very lucky, I think, in England to have such a great league. with. Okay, so I'm just going to look. Any final questions? Just an okay. So thank you again for watching. Rich, do you have any last words, or that's part of this?
Not really. Just to remind everyone, when you leave your comments on the website, Jack and I look at every single comment that's left on the website, and we reply to many of them as well. But if your comment isn't replied to soon, just be rest assured that we look at every comment that you write.
Yes, I think that's one of the differences with perhaps the other courses and the things that Neil and the team do. On the Premier Skills English website, all of our comments are moderated. That means that they don't get published until Rich or I have read them. Now, we do this to make sure that there's nothing rude or inappropriate on the website, because it's a site for learners, and so we've probably got some young people on the site, so we like to keep it clean and we have to check every comment first. But that does mean that there can be a little delay between when you post a comment and when it goes live on the website. But it also means that you can be sure that we've read it. So any comments or questions you have, we'll definitely have read them. Okay, it might take us, as Rich says, a little time to answer them, but we've definitely read them and we'll do our best to get back to you. Okay, well, thank you everybody for watching us here, and yeah, I hope to see you all on the activity week. So, bye for now.